The morning started like any other on the set of Today with Jenna Friends, with bright lights, cheerful banter, and the promise of an engaging interview with country music superstar Blake Shelton. Fans tuned in expecting to hear about his latest album, for recreational use only, and perhaps some light-hearted stories about his life with Gwen Stefani. The show's host, Jenna Bush Hager, known for her warm and approachable style, welcomed Blake with her signature smile, setting the stage for what seemed like a routine promotional appearance. But beneath the surface, there was an undercurrent of tension, as the show's producers had reportedly encouraged Jenna to push Blake on topics beyond music, specifically his views on the cultural and political divides surrounding country music. As the cameras rolled, Jenna began with the usual pleasantries, asking about Blake's inspiration for the new album and his recent performances. The audience, both in the studio and at home, settled in, unaware that this interview was about to take a dramatic turn. Blake, dressed in his trademark plaid shirt and cowboy hat, responded with his characteristic charm, joking about his songwriting process and sharing anecdotes about his life on the ranch. But as Jenna steered the conversation toward more controversial territory, the mood shifted. She asked about the stereotypes of country music, boots, beer, and broken hearts, and whether Blake felt they misrepresented the genre. His smile faltered, and he leaned forward, his tone sharpening. "Are we talking music or taking jabs today?" he said, half laughing but with a clear edge. The audience chuckled nervously, sensing the change in atmosphere. Jenna, undeterred, pressed on, suggesting that country music sometimes gets put in a box by mainstream media. Blake's response was swift and pointed. "Yeah, I'll always want to put country in a box. You want the boots, the beer, and the broken heart, but not the truth." The studio fell silent, and producers exchanged frantic glances off camera. This wasn't the light-hearted chat they'd planned. Blake's frustration was palpable, and it was clear he felt ambushed. Jenna tried to pivot, asking about his fanbase and their diversity, but Blake wasn't having it. "You wanna talk about my fans? They're real people, not some caricature you see on TV," he snapped. The exchange was spiraling, and the once friendly interview was now a battleground of clashing perspectives. By the time Jenna suggested the show celebrates all voices, Blake's patience was wearing thin. He leaned back, arms crossed, and muttered, "Then stop treating us like some hillbilly entertainment break." The audience gasped, and social media began buzzing with clips of the moment, as viewers at home sensed something big was brewing. This was no ordinary morning show segment. It was a collision of cultures, egos, and expectations, and it was only the beginning. As the tension escalated, Jenna Bush Hager, visibly caught off guard, tried to regain control of the interview. Her usual poise was tested as Blake Shelton's frustration grew more evident. "This isn't a campaign stage," she said, her voice firm but strained, attempting to steer the conversation back to safer ground. Blake, however, was in no mood to back down. "It's morning TV," he shot back, his Oklahoma drawl thick with exasperation. "Maybe you should stop pretending to care about artists and just serve the coffee." The audience let out a collective gasp, and the studio's energy shifted from uncomfortable to chaotic. Off-camera, producers scrambled to signal Jenna to move to a commercial break, but the damage was done. Blake's words hung in the air, sharp and unapologetic. Jenna, her arms crossed, responded with a tight smile, "We're here to give you a platform, not be insulted." That was the breaking point. Blake stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor, and glared at Jenna. "You can keep your platform, sweetheart," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "I've got a stage of my own." With that, he ripped off his microphone and walked off the set, leaving Jenna, the crew, and the audience in stunned silence. The cameras cut to a bewildered Jenna, who quickly tossed to a commercial break, her face a mix of shock and professionalism. Social media exploded immediately, with hashtags like #BlakeWalks, often #TodayShowClash trending within minutes. Fans took sides, some praising Blake for standing up to what they saw as a biased line of questioning, while others criticized him for being disrespectful to Jenna. Clips of the confrontation spread like wildfire across platforms like X, YouTube, and TikTok, with pundits and influencers dissecting every word. News outlets jumped on the story, with headlines ranging from Blake Shelton storms off Today's show after heated clash to Jenna Bush Hager left speechless by country star's outburst. Behind the scenes, the show's team was in crisis mode, with producers debating how to address the incident when they returned from the break. Jenna, ever the professional, regained her composure and later addressed the audience, saying, "We had a tough moment today, but we move forward with grace." Meanwhile, Blake's team released a cryptic statement on X, "Sometimes walking away says more than staying silent." The fallout was immediate, with NBC reportedly updating its guest interview protocols in response to the incident. For viewers, the clash wasn't just about the single interview. It tapped into deeper debates about how country music and its artists are perceived in mainstream media. The aftermath of Blake Shelton's walk-off from Today with Jenna Friends was nothing short of a media frenzy. By the next day, every major outlet had a take on the incident, with some framing it as a bold stand against stereotyping and others painting Blake as a hothead who couldn't handle tough questions. On X, fans rallied behind him, posting messages like "Blake stood up for country music," and "the media always twists the narrative." Others, however, felt he crossed a line by calling Jenna a sweetheart and dismissing the show's platform. The polarized reactions highlighted the cultural divide at the heart of the clash: urban media versus rural authenticity, polished TV versus raw emotion. News programs replayed the clip endlessly, with analysts debating whether Jenna's questions were fair or if they were designed to provoke. Some pointed out that her line of questioning focusing on stereotypes and Southern culture was a common tactic to elicit controversy, while others argued Blake overreacted to what was meant as a light-hearted discussion. Jenna's team issued a statement emphasizing her commitment to respectful dialogue, but it did little to quell the storm. Blake, meanwhile, stayed relatively quiet, letting his initial X post speak for itself. His fans, however, were vocal, flooding comment sections with support and accusing the show of pushing a narrative that painted country music as backward. The incident also sparked broader conversations about how morning shows handle celebrity interviews. Critics argued that hosts like Jenna are often pressured to generate viral moments, even at the expense of their guests' comfort. Supporters of the show countered that Blake, as a seasoned TV personality from his years on The Voice, should have been prepared for tough questions. The controversy even reached late-night shows, with hosts poking fun at the sweetheart comment while acknowledging the underlying tension. By midweek, NBC announced that Blake would not be invited back to Today with Jenna Friends, a decision that further fueled the debate. Jenna addressed the ban on air, saying, "We wish Blake the best, but we're focused on moving forward." For many, the incident wasn't just about Blake and Jenna. It was a microcosm of larger societal fault lines, where entertainment, politics, and identity collide in unexpected ways. As the days passed, the Blake Shelton walk-off became more than just a viral moment. It became a cultural flashpoint. Blogs and opinion pieces dissected the exchange, with some writers praising Blake for calling out what they saw as elitism in mainstream media. "Country music has always been about real people and real stories," one columnist wrote, "and Blake wasn't going to let the morning show reduce it to a caricature." Others, however, criticized his behavior as unprofessional, arguing that walking off a live show was a disservice to fans who tuned in to hear about his music. The debate spilled over into talk radio, where hosts took calls from listeners who were sharply divided. Some saw Blake as a hero for standing up for his values, while others felt he owed Jenna an apology for his condescending tone. On X, the hashtag #TeamBlake trended alongside #JusticeForJenna, with users sharing memes and hot takes. One viral post showed a split screen of Blake's exit and Jenna's stunned expression, captioned, "When you realize morning TV isn't ready for the real Blake." Meanwhile, Gwen Stefani, Blake's wife, stayed out of the fray, though sources close to the couple hinted she supported his decision to walk off. The incident also prompted discussions about the role of morning shows in today's media landscape. Are they platforms for genuine conversation, or are they chasing clicks by manufacturing drama? Industry insiders pointed out that Today with Jenna Friends had been struggling with ratings, and some speculated that producers intentionally pushed controversial topics to boost viewership. The updated guest policies at NBC requiring stricter pre-interview agreements seemed to confirm that the network was rattled by the incident. For Blake, the walk-off didn't seem to hurt his career. If anything, it galvanized his fan base, with ticket sales for his upcoming tour reportedly spiking. His new album also saw a surge in streams, as fans rallied around what they saw as his defense of country music's authenticity. Still, the incident left a mark, with some wondering if Blake's fiery exit would define his public image going forward. The ripple effects of Blake Shelton's clash with Jenna Bush Hager extended beyond the studio, touching on deeper issues about representation and respect in entertainment. Country music fans, particularly those from rural and southern backgrounds, felt Blake's frustration was justified. For years, they'd watched their culture be reduced to stereotype as a cowboy hats, pickup trucks, and twangy accents, while the genre's diversity and storytelling were overlooked. Blake's comment about hillbilly entertainment struck a chord with those who felt mainstream media often patronized their way of life. On the flip side, Jenna's supporters argued that she was simply doing her job as a host, asking questions to spark conversation and engage viewers. Jenna wasn't attacking Blake as she was trying to have a real discussion, one commentator wrote. The clash also highlighted the challenges of live TV, where unscripted moments can escalate quickly. Behind the scenes, reports emerged that the show's producers had prepped Jenna to ask about the cultural baggage of country music, hoping to create a viral moment. Whether intentional or not, the strategy backfired, leaving both Blake and Jenna as lightning rods for criticism. The incident also reignited debates about gender dynamics, with some pointing out that Blake's sweetheart comment carried a patronizing tone that rubbed many the wrong way. Feminist blogs called it out as an example of casual sexism, while others argued it was just Blake's folksy way of speaking. The controversy even caught the attention of other celebrities, with some country artists quietly backing Blake and others, like pop stars, siding with Jenna. The X platform became a battleground for these opinions, with thousands of posts analyzing every angle of the exchange. For NBC, the fallout was a headache, as advertisers reportedly expressed concern about the negative publicity. The network's decision to bar Blake from future appearances was seen by some as an attempt to save face, but it only added fuel to the fire for his supporters. By the end of the week, the incident had been discussed on everything from Good Morning America to The View, cementing its place in pop culture history. As the story continued to dominate headlines, Blake Shelton remained unapologetic, though he avoided further public comments on the incident. His team, however, was strategic, using the controversy to promote his new album and tour. Behind closed doors, sources said Blake felt betrayed by the show's producers, who he believed had set him up for a confrontation. He went in expecting to talk about music, not defend his entire industry, an insider told a major outlet. Meanwhile, Jenna Bush Hager took the high road, addressing the incident with grace on the next episode of Today with Jenna Friends. "We love having passionate guests, and sometimes things get heated," she said, smiling through the awkwardness. "But we're all about moving forward and celebrating what brings us together." Her response was widely praised, though some viewers felt it sidestepped the deeper issues Blake had raised. The clash also prompted soul-searching within the country music community, with artists like Miranda Lambert and Chris Stapleton weighing in subtly through social media posts about staying true to their roots. Fans organized online campaigns to support Blake, including a petition to get him back on the show, which garnered thousands of signatures. At the same time, Jenna's fans praised her for handling the situation with professionalism, with many pointing out that she didn't deserve the backlash. The incident also sparked academic discussions, with media scholars analyzing it as a case study in the clash between entertainment and authenticity. Some argued that morning shows like Today with Jenna Friends thrive on manufactured drama, while others saw Blake's walk-off as a rebellion against a media machine that often exploits artists for ratings. The X platform continued to buzz with reactions, from memes poking fun at Jenna's stunned expression to think pieces about the cultural divide. For many, the incident was a reminder that even seemingly light-hearted TV moments can expose raw, unresolved tensions in society. By the second week, the Blake Shelton walk-off had taken on a life of its own, becoming a reference point for broader conversations about media, culture, and respect. Late-night comedians continued to mine the incident for laughs, with one host joking, "Blake Shelton walked off the Today Show, but don't worry, he's still got a stage at the local honky-tonk." Meanwhile, serious outlets like the New York Times and The Atlantic published op-eds exploring the clash's implications. One piece argued that Blake's reaction was a symptom of a larger disconnect between coastal media elites and heartland audiences, while another suggested that morning shows need to rethink their approach to controversial topics. The incident also affected the dynamics of Today with Jenna Friends, with reports that producers were now more cautious about booking guests with strong personalities. For Blake, the controversy seemed to only boost his popularity among his core fans. His album for recreational use only climbed the charts, and his tour sold out several dates, with fans chanting "We love Blake" at concerts. Some speculated that the walk-off was a calculated move to rally his base, though those close to Blake insisted he was genuinely upset. Jenna, meanwhile, continued to host the show with her usual warmth, though she avoided mentioning Blake directly in subsequent episodes. The incident also had a lasting impact on NBC's policies, with the network reportedly implementing stricter guidelines for live interviews to prevent similar blow-ups. On X, the conversation evolved, with users sharing side-by-side comparisons of Blake's walk-off with other famous TV meltdowns, like Kanye West's infamous 2005 outburst. The clash also inspired a wave of fan art, from cartoons depicting Blake storming off to mock movie posters titled "The Walk-Off." For casual viewers, the incident was a dramatic blip in their morning routine, but for those invested in the cultural subtext, it was a moment that captured the complexities of identity, media, and power in 2025. Months later, the Blake Shelton walk-off remained a touchstone in pop culture, referenced in everything from memes to academic papers. The incident had cemented Blake's reputation as a no-nonsense artist unafraid to speak his mind, while Jenna Bush Hager emerged as a symbol of resilience in the face of on-air chaos. Both parties moved on, but the clash left a lasting mark on Today with Jenna Friends. Ratings for the show spiked in the immediate aftermath, as curious viewers tuned in to see how Jenna would handle the fallout, but some argued the controversy exposed flaws in the morning show format. The incident also prompted reflection within the country music industry, with artists and executives discussing how to navigate a media landscape that often misunderstands their genre. Blake, for his part, leaned into his rebel image, incorporating subtle nods to the walk-off in his live performances, like pausing dramatically before saying, "I've got a stage of my own." Fans ate it up, seeing it as a defiant stand against a world that often looks down on their culture. Jenna, meanwhile, continued to host with her trademark charm, though insiders said she was more cautious about diving into controversial topics. The clash also had a broader impact on how morning shows approach celebrity interviews, with networks across the board reevaluating their strategies to avoid similar debacles. On X, the conversation eventually quieted, but not before spawning countless threads about authenticity, respect, and the role of media in shaping public perception. For Blake's fans, the walk-off was a moment of triumph, a reminder that their favorite artist wouldn't bow to pressure. For Jenna's supporters, it was a testament to her ability to handle a crisis with grace. And for the millions who watched the clip, it was a reminder that live TV can still deliver unscripted, raw moments that spark debate and reflection. Whether you see Blake as a hero or a hothead, one thing is clear: his walk-off from Today with Jenna Friends was a defining moment in 2025, a clash that transcended entertainment and tapped into the heart of America's cultural divide.